Hi, I'm Alex Popov and this is video 11 of the motorcycle tank tutorials. In this video we'll be putting the remaining fillets on our surface edges. So first things first, we'll hide the surfaces that we don't need. And this is the edge that we'll be filleting. With the surface fillet tool selected, select your first set of surfaces. Careful how you select them. I broke tangency at the boundaries there, so it went yellow. You want them all to stay pink, and then these ones yellow. Set everything to default in the control box. And you can see we have some problems, but it's not all bad. It looks quite terrible, but it's relatively easy to fix. So I guess we'll start with these surfaces. You can see the comb tells me where my curvature deviations are. So very simply we'll direct model the surfaces to achieve G2 continuity along that boundary. I'm going to use Transform CV, but first I want to make sure that I have a tangency between these surface boundaries. And now Transform CV in NUV direction. Just select this CV and put it, there we go. A very small adjustment achieved the continuity we were looking for. Here we have a spike in our comb, so I'm just going to break this surface up using the Extend tool with Merge Off. Just break it up to about there. And now with Merge On, do the same and snap to that surface. There we go. And just use the continuity evaluator to make sure we have tangency along the surfaces and curvature along the main surface boundaries. So here we have an issue. You can see we don't need the surface. Don't delete it, but just put it on an invisible layer. You might need it later. And now we can extend this fillet back to here. Zoom in to make sure you're snapping to the correct location, which we're not here. There we go. And same with this one. Snapping to where the trimmed edge of your top surface comes to a point. Now that looks a lot neater, so we can put a 5-point edit point curve and align it to the rail surfaces. There we go. Now we can project normal onto this surface and trim. There we are. If we were to try and build a square surface now, you can see we have boundary issues where our curves on surfaces are no longer aligned to our fillet surface edges. So we need to delete those curves on surface and then project normal onto this surface, these surface boundaries of our fillets. Same as before with a degree 5 edit point curve, snap to the corners of each of your fillet surfaces and align the curve. It doesn't really matter which one you align to at this point. And project the curve normally onto the surface and trim. There we go. Delete the curves, they're no longer needed. Now, next issue we'll have if we try and build a surface is our surface fillets aren't actually aligned to our parent surfaces as yet. You can see there's a position error. So just align and flick between edge and skew. Here we need skew, and here we want edge because we have no other boundary to match up to. Now, before I go ahead and align this edge to the parent surface, I'm going to delete the surface history because that surface was trimmed using the edge of the fillet. So if we modify the edge of the fillet, it's going to modify the parent surface, which is like a negative loophole. So just delete the history and then align to G2 continuity. Yep, happy with that. So if you accidentally select the wrong edge in the align options, you can hit revert and it'll send it back to the previous alignment. And here we want edge, align, and at this end we want skew. Same again with this edge. And now we should be ready to build our square surface to complete our fillet. We have some positional errors, but very small ones, highlighted by the red arrows. So now I'm going to change the boundaries to 1 and 3 to tangency and 2 and 4 to curvature, which you can see has failed on boundary 4. So I'll just turn the controls on. And at this point, delete the history of all the surfaces as well. And then align to G2 continuity, the surface boundary, and you can see we achieve curvature. So that's the worst of the problems fixed. I think we'll just put the continuity checker on a few surface boundaries, these ones we had problems with. And we can move forward using the same sort of techniques to ensure the continuity at the boundaries that we're after. Using the align tool first. If that doesn't work, try some direct modelling. If that doesn't work, break your surfaces up. And these fillets have now all been aligned to the parent surfaces, as you can see by the continuity evaluators. This surface here has had a trim failure because when we built the fillet we set it to default rather than edge align, so we just need to use the extend tool and snap to the parent surface edge. So before we trim our surface, this error message pops up, so we need to delete the surface history as well as the curves on surface for those surfaces involved. We're going to reproject using project normal our fillet boundaries onto our parent surface. So select the surface, select the boundary and project. Now trim, and our trim error is no longer an issue. Again, delete the surface history before using the align tool to align the fillet to the parent surface with G2 continuity. You can see here as well, using skew we can manually adjust this section of the hull, rotating it so that it's in line with the parent surface. Alternatively, you could just click that skew and it would change the edge and align properly. You can see we had a line issue here, so in the align options hit revert and it goes back to its previous alignment. We can then select the correct edge to align to and try manually. This isn't the most accurate way. Alternatively, we can query edit this surface or just use the align tool still selected and hit edge align there and activate the other edge, and again. And now you can see the hull is perfectly in line with the parent surfaces. Okay, so that's our boundaries of our parent surfaces all aligned to G2 continuity. We just need the inter-fillet boundaries to be tangent. So our evaluator shows that we don't have tangency, so in the control panel we can put the controls on for these two surfaces. Now you can pull any of the G1 or tangency CVs, which are the ones a row in from the boundary, and use the transform CV to pull in the NUV direction until tangency is achieved, like so. And just go along any of the inter-fillet surface boundaries and use the same technique, pulling the CVs, direct modelling until you achieve tangency. So I'll just take away all the stuff we don't need to see, delete the history and unhide some of our layers or apply symmetry to some of our layers so we get a full idea of what the tank's looking like. And we see we need to trim here, so we'll use the intersect tool to get a curve on surface and then the trim tool to trim. Delete the curve on surface that you don't need and do the same here, so intersect, trim, and there we are. We are now ready to build the very, very small fillet onto the underside of our tank. Because we have curvature along all these surface boundaries, the surface fillet tool will allow us to select all of these surfaces in pink and then the underside surfaces in yellow, and we'll build a fillet. Now I'll jump to where I've created the small fillet to the underside of the tank just so you can see it. I don't want to repeat the steps, it'll make the video really, really long, but essentially it's just the surface fillet tool, select your surfaces, build the fillet, and then using the align tool or direct modelling, manipulate your surfaces until you have the continuity required at each boundary. So we'll leave it here before moving on to the final video of the tutorials. I hope you found this one useful. Thanks very much for watching.